Fantastic recitation as always, Mustafa Al-Ali. Many thanks for your time. And of course, we have now arrived at the part of the daily du'as. And essentially, as ever, we are discussing or taking a bit of a deep dive into the du'as and the supplications associated with Muharram and the Safar, the events of Ashura and the Arba'een. So far, Zahra, we've taken a look into the dua for the beginning of the month.
Definitely.
We've also taken a deep dive into Zyarat Ashura.
I found that that was a nice, quite fascinating conversation. So I hope you didn't miss that. But inshallah, we're hoping to continue that today.
Yeah, we're actually continuing it with.
Yep.
We haven't actually introduced our dear guest, Ibrahim Al-Ansari. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you guys doing today?
Alhamdulillah. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you this morning?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Alhamdulillah. Mullah Ali is a bit quiet today. Are you tired this morning?
No. I'm good. I'm just putting my thoughts together because from our last couple of episodes, we spoke about again a lot of aspects when it comes to the du'as associated with the beginning of the month, and then we looked into Zyarat Ashura. We ended last episode with, if the viewers remember, with Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and we very briefly touched upon his role within Zyarat Ashura. Essentially, our topic last episode was around association and disassociation. So today we're going to focus more also the lines of the end of Zyarat Ashura, where
inshallah.
Actually there's a sujood part. So I want to know much more about that. Me and Zahra. We also want to know about Imam Zain al-Abidin's role, because you mentioned that actually the Ziyarah was written by Imam Zain al-Abidin, and the reason why that's significant is because he was actually involved within Karbala. So tell us a bit more about his significant role when it comes to Zyarat Ashura.
So Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi afdal salatu wasalam, one thing we realize about the way that he worked as an imam in regards to the rest is that he was specifically known for his du'as. So Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Ali, of course, with the political stances, Imam Hassan carrying that on, Imam Hussein and known for the battle, etc. Imam Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq known to initiate the school of Ahlul Bayt, etc. until you go to the rest of the Imams. Imam Zain al-Abidin was known for the du'as. Therefore we see that he teaches his Shia. He teaches his Shia through the du'as. Because the caliphate at that time was, and the oppression that was going on at that time is unbelievable. To the extent where, you know, Yazid, he was 3 years caliph. He was a caliph for 3 years. The first year he kills Imam Hussein. The second year or the third year, the second year, he attacks Medina. And specifically the Hashimis. The third year, he attacks the Kaaba by burning it. This is his 3-year caliphate, by the way, and this is why we mentioned before, مثلي لا يبايع مثله, because someone like this, Imam Hussein, from his actions, he saw that in his heart was not cleanliness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam Zain al-Abidin, alayhi afdal salatu wassalam, it was difficult for him to actually go out and to preach and to do all of these things. Instead, what he did was teach us through his supplications. This specific ziyarah, yes, it is visiting Imam Hussein. Yes, it is sending our salams to Imam Hussein. But there are amazing lessons that we find from it. Amazing lessons we find in it. And one of which we discussed in the last episode. And we talked very briefly about wilaya and bara'ah. And the thing is, because we had such short time, but if you remember, we picked literally specific words, and these specific words, there was so much to talk about, because that was the style of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Every single sentence he mentions, there is something specific about it. So one thing about Imam Zain al-Abidin and his role in this ziyarah is not only that he taught us how to send our salams to the Imam. So this is another beautiful thing, where the infallibles, they teach us how to approach the infallibles. So one thing is he taught us how to approach him. Another thing, he taught us some very important lessons. And the third thing that he mentions in the ziyarah and that he teaches very specifically is the mourning for Imam Hussein, and asking Allah for reward on your mourning for Imam Hussein. and the sorrow that he holds in his heart, to show the amazingness of what actually happened. And I think that's just a very quick summary of how the ziyarah went. Yes, sir.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you've chosen an excerpt of the ziyarah, is it? And it's towards the end, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the actual very end of the ziyarah.
Okay, so if you'd like to Bismillah recite, and then we can...
So of course towards the end of the ziyarah, اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. It is recommended to go into sujood. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Excellent. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Excellent recitation. Thank you so much. I'd love to find out, from your perspective in terms of the sujood, why is it actually there, and who introduced it?
This sujood and the act of sujood. If you remember in the first episode, we talked about how dua is direct conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we have specific positions in which we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So firstly, in salah, we are closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, in qunut in salah, we tend to have closer conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we've got Salat al-Ghufayla, for example, which is recommended to pray between Salat al-Maghrib and Isha. And in that specific salah, and you do your qunut, you ask for all your needs. We've got Salatul Layl. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be of those who pray it. We've got Salatul Layl. In that you mentioned 40 people in that specific qunut. And that, because prayer, you get closer. Then in the act of prayer, the closest position you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the act of sujood. Therefore, this direct conversation you are having with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closest in the act of sujood. And we realize that in this specific ziyarah, when it comes to the sujood, the dua is very specific. Firstly, O Allah, praise to you and praise of the ever thankful to you, who glorify you whatever comes to pass. Praises for Allah for my deep felt intense grief. So firstly, you're praising Allah and you're thanking Him for whatever has happened. And we see this even with Sayyidah Zainab, salamullahi alayha. When she sees Imam Hussein in the state he was, she turns around and thanks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is very important. This is a lesson given to us by Imam Sajjad.
Absolutely.
Thank Allah in all situations. And then it's even more beautiful. Oh Allah, make available for me the recommendations of Hussein the day I present myself before you. Meaning, oh Allah, grant me his intercession. Grant me Imam Hussein's intercession, and let me stand firm in safety before you on account of my sincere attachment with Hussein, along with him and his companions who sacrificed everything they had for Imam Hussein, peace be upon him.
SubhanAllah.
So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sujood to come closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala firstly, to always thank him, and then to be on the status of who? The companions of Imam Hussein. And Imam Hussein says what about his companions? ما علمت أهل بيت كأهل بيتي. I did not know of a holy house, of a household just like my household, ولا أصحاب كأصحابي, and no companions like my companions. They were the best of companions, the companions of Imam Hussein. They literally gave away everything they had for the sake of religion.
I think it's interesting that Imam Sajjad, who is very well known for his act of sujood, his act of, like you said, you mentioned his du'as, and teaching us in that way, that he's ended the ziyarah with sujood.
Yes.
And
definitely.
And actually, absolutely. And when you look at, you read the ziyarah from his eyes and the way that he's saying his gratitude to Allah, and at the beginning that you recited, Allah condemn and damn the first tyrant justly and wrongfully, usurp the rights of those belong to Muhammad and the children of Muhammad ﷺ, and bring curse to those after him who followed in his footsteps. So again, it's disassociation.
Yes, dissociation. It's throughout the whole ziyarah he teaches us how to dissociate ourselves, and he mentions specifics in that. So he mentions those who oppressed the Ahlul Bayt, those who, it doesn't say just those who went in war against them. No, he also says whoever followed them. Whoever followed them in this war.
Exactly.
So that's very specific as well. And that is still to go, just like I mentioned last episode, that is still to be here. So those who think it is okay for whatever happened on that day, dissociate yourself from these people.
Yeah. I think the most fascinating thing is that, when you mentioned that, each of the Imams did their tabligh or did their preaching in their own specific way. And, there's a whole book, library, as we can call it, from Imam Sajjad specifically. It's under the guise of supplications, but it's actually the lessons, the tenets, the actual real teachings of Islam through supplications, which kind of, you hit two birds with one stone. Not only do you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you also learn lessons about Islam as a whole, which is absolutely fantastic.
And the beauty of his collection of his du'as is that it's so universal, that how much he teaches us the etiquette of, like you were saying in in another morning, that how we're meant to have etiquette to speak towards Allah. I mean, Dua Kumail is one of those that teaches us. But you can't just, so sometimes people, when we have this conversation, said, I just can't connect to Allah. And yet, when even to my non-Shia friends, I can give a dua from this collection, say, recite this, and I always hear that this dua is just so deep and so meaningful, and subhanAllah,
it has so much meanings to it. And that's the thing with the du'as from Imam Sajjad. Even when we look at Dua bi Hamza al-Thamali, which is also by Imam Sajjad, the teachings in that dua, unbelievable.
It's amazing.
And the way he allows himself to actually give you the supplication while giving you lessons even about the afterlife. He teaches you about what happens in the grave. He teaches about how your soul leaves your body. And then he talks about your state in that specific. So he's describing it. He's teaching you how it's happened, and he allows it to be taught in such a specific way where you connect with the dua and really feel deep inside that change.
To the extent, actually, because you mentioned, for example, sujood is one of the parts of how to really get closest to Allah. Within dua, not only is it taught the teachings of Islam and how to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but even as a position, what you should do, every single step you need to take in order to get close to Allah. So essentially, we don't have a reason not to get close to Allah, because everything is out there in front of us. And actually what's very interesting is in Dua Kumail, there's a specific instruction as to how to get close to Allah by when the dua says, فَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي نَصَبْتُ وَجْهِي. That's a direct act, that's a direct, it's like not like a request, but this is what you're now supposed to do physically. So now you're supposed to raise your head towards the sky, because that's towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then on top of that raise your hands in dua. So it's actually saying physically this is what you should be doing, as well as this is what you should be saying.
Definitely. So it's beautiful. The way the Imams put it for us is unbelievable. And this is a blessing that we have, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us steadfast on this, inshallah. Because like we know, you never know how it can turn out, and therefore one of the main du'as that is always recommended by our scholars, that is recommended, نسأل الله حسن العاقبة, to keep us steadfast on these beautiful teachings of the Imams.
Thank you so much. So we've got time for it. It's flown by again. Shall I pray for a blessed day for you?
Likewise to the both of you and your families, inshallah.
So moving on to the next part of the show. After this, I'll be actually taking a deep dive into the emotional aspect of Muharram and Safar, in the sense that I'll be speaking to different poets and reciters as to their experiences when it comes to Ashura and Arba'in, verses of love, after some extracts of the holy city of Karbala during Muharram and Safar.